Look at the headlines. The story is already written. India is the fastest-growing major economy on Earth. We are the next global superpower. But look at your own bank account, and the story feels completely different. Every year, your rent takes a bigger bite. Your grocery bill climbs. And despite getting a raise, your salary somehow buys less than it did 5 years ago. If you feel like you're slowly becoming poorer while the country gets richer, you aren't bad at managing your money. You are experiencing a massive systemic disconnect between the macroeconomic numbers and the microeconomic reality. Behind those triumphant GDP figures, 3 structural crises are quietly eroding middle-class wealth: a trap that destroys our currency, an official inflation rate that ignores your actual expenses, and a real estate market designed to lock you out. To protect your own wallet, you have to understand exactly how this system is stacked against the average earner. We start at the ports. India has a massive addiction to bringing in finished goods and raw materials from overseas, rather than actually making them here at home. Take gold. Every year, India imports roughly 800 tons of gold. By comparison, we produce around 1 single ton domestically. To buy all that gold, our central bank has to pay for it in dollars. Every time we send dollars out of the country, the global demand for our currency drops, pulling the rupee down with it. And this isn't isolated to luxury items. We call ourselves the pharmacy of the world, but up to 70% of the active raw ingredients used in our domestic pharmaceuticals are imported directly from China. Even the food we grow relies on foreign inputs. The potassium and sulfur needed to make these massive bags of fertilizer are heavily imported, requiring the government to spend up to 3 lakh crores in subsidies just to keep local farming affordable. Textbook economics says a weak currency makes a country's exports cheaper and more competitive. But over the last 14 years, as the rupee lost over 60% of its value, our exports actually shrank as a percentage of GDP. When you rely on imported raw materials to build your products, a crashing rupee just makes your local manufacturing impossibly expensive. Because we are trapped in this cycle of buying foreign materials with a weakening currency, economists are now predicting the rupee is on a path to hit 150 to the dollar. This permanently shrinks your purchasing power on the global stage. This shrinking purchasing power brings us to the second crisis. The government tells us inflation is hovering around 5%. Yet, if you track your own family's monthly budget, your costs are jumping by double digits every year. The government calculates this 5% using the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. It's a single nationwide number meant to measure the rising cost of living across the country. This chart shows exactly how that index is built. The CPI relies on an outdated basket of goods established back in 2011, and a massive 46% of that basket's weight is assigned entirely to basic food and survival. Meanwhile, the expenses draining the modern middle-class wallet, like your child's education or a trip to a modern diagnostic clinic, barely register in the official calculation. This metric is weighted this way because, in a country of 1.5 billion people, keeping basic agricultural commodities cheap ensures electoral stability. A sudden spike in the price of onions will swing an election. A 15% hike in your health insurance premium will not. The official inflation data isn't designed to measure the reality of the middle class. It is a political tool that successfully masks the severe, rapid devaluation of your salaried income. That devaluation leads directly to the third crisis, the fading dream of buying a home. India currently faces a shortage of nearly 1.9 crore houses. Yet, if you look across our major cities, there are an estimated 2 crore completed luxury homes sitting completely empty. This chart explains the supply failure. Today, over 50% of new real estate supply is dedicated to luxury homes priced above 1.5 crores, while only 12% is built for the affordable housing market. Developers prioritize luxury units because these homes have stopped being places to live. They are now investment parking lots. A huge portion of this demand is driven by foreign remittances from non-resident Indians seeking a safe place to deploy their dollars. The other massive driver is domestic black money. Since demonetization, the total cash circulating outside the digital economy has actually doubled, and real estate remains the primary vehicle to absorb those hidden funds. Real estate has completely decoupled from local incomes. It is an untouchable financial asset, leaving the average earner locked into a lifetime of renting or suffocating debt. If we pull back to the macroeconomic view, a 6 to 7% GDP growth rate sounds incredibly impressive on the global stage. But for a population of 1.5 billion people, we need a growth rate of 10% or more just to outpace our massive unemployment and poverty levels. Other rapidly developing nations achieved true wealth by building deep domestic supply chains from the ground up, turning their own raw materials into global exports. Right now, much of our economic growth is built on subsidizing the assembly of imported parts. That approach simply doesn't create the localized wealth needed to lift the broader population. You cannot afford to blindly cheer for macroeconomic headlines. The official statistics are measuring an entirely different India than the one you live in, and those numbers will not save your personal portfolio. To survive this economic squeeze, you have to look past the top-line data. Demand better information, protect your purchasing power, and understand the real math that actually governs your wallet.